Liverpool draw 2-2 at Fulham, and the immediate match reaction is the same predictable story. Midfield collapse, no control, bad game. But after sitting down and rewatching some of the key moments of the match, I started tracking what Liverpool was doing with and without the ball. And it's very apparent that the midfield is not actually the problem. And what I want to dive into today is the underlying issue that we're actually seeing. And those are things like structure and spacing and game management in a team that, whether you like it or not, is still transitioning under Arne Slot. Let's start with the principles. And if we look at Arne Slot's type of football, and if we track back and go and look at his time at Feyenoord, we see that he likes a game that he's also doing now at Liverpool, where there's vertical compactness, there is clear spacing between the units, and midfielders receiving the ball on the half turn and, control through positioning and not chaos. And against Fulham, we saw some of that, especially in the build-up phases, and that was exceptionally well executed. But what broke Liverpool, I think, in this match was the distance between the lines. Now, at times, what we did see was the front line pressing too aggressively, and then the midfield either just too slow to get there, or they just too hesitant to get there in time. We saw that the back line just held its shape all throughout that first half. And I think glimpses of that in the second half as well. And this allowed Fulham to catch the second ball. They could beat us on the turn and put pressure back on Liverpool. And all of a sudden, our midfielders were scrambling to get back. And I don't think this is something that you can pin on the midfield and say, that's a midfield problem, because it's not. I think here it was just the team as a whole, and it was the totality of all of them not being in sync at the same time that had exposed Liverpool and made them look less than great. And the key point here is that Liverpool's midfield had to cover too much ground. There were scenarios when the press wasn't triggered cleanly, that we saw that the midfielders were either forced to jump forward, or they then had to immediately cover and track back and oftentimes defend facing their own goal. Now, one thing that's good, I think, is that this wasn't a constant thing that was happening, and this was more of waves in which we saw this happening. And that lets me know that they are learning to execute the press a little bit better, a little bit cleaner, and there is starting to this discipline is starting to form. But you can see that they are still learning when to press, when to hold, and when to take control of the game. And hopefully they can get better at doing that, because when they actually get it right, Liverpool do look threatening going forward. We've hit the frame of the goal a couple of times. We now need to get a little cleaner in that. And especially going to Arsenal, to this match against Arsenal, I still believe that Liverpool could surprise Arsenal if they are able to maintain this type of discipline in their gameplay. If they get that right, they can take the game right up to Arsenal and get the points. That's my hope. I think one of the most under-discussed things that we saw in this match and throughout the season is what Liverpool do after scoring. Now, instead of just killing off the tempo, taking control of the game and recycling the ball, making the opposition, in this case Fulham, chase the ball, what they start doing is they try and do these quick vertical passes to get the ball forward and start going again, instead of just taking a moment, letting the nerves calm, letting the emotions calm, and keeping control of the game. This allowed Fulham to get right back in there. And we saw this in the dying moments of the game. They allowed Fulham to get back in there instead of making them chase. If Liverpool want to take a game of discipline to Arsenal, they need to do that. The moment that they score, they need to make sure that they are keeping the ball, they're controlling the tempo of the game, and that they are recycling the possession of the ball. That's going to give Liverpool the dominating edge that they want and that they need in order to get the results and get the maximum points. I think that is one thing that we haven't seen enough of, getting the maximum points this season. I'd almost like to say that I'm still optimistic that Liverpool could still challenge. It's not that far off the number one spot. If they become more disciplined like this, I think there's still a chance. But if we don't see that happening, the chance slips further and further away. But they have to be disciplined enough to at least stay in the top four. And here's an important perspective, that we must not forget that this is a Liverpool team that's still learning new positional language, and they're also just adjusting to the pressure of this moment and the pressuring triggers, I would like to say. They're also unlearning years of playing with chaos and, that heavy metal style of football that Jürgen Klopp played. They're unlearning all of that. And that does take time. And what we saw in this match was clear attacking patterns. I think that needs to be said. There were some clear attacking patterns. There was intention in build-up play. It was very intentional. And there were moments of very strong and calm progression. That type of discipline was beautiful to see. We saw more of it in the second half, of course, but it was there nonetheless. And when Liverpool get that right, they get into moments of dominance. Now, here's the thing that we must remember, that this type of gameplay is coached over weeks and over months. It's not something that's just going to click after one away game and all of a sudden we are sitting here with this high expectation saying, hey, do all of that at the same time right now. This does take patience, and we will eventually get there. Trust me, we will. So, should fans be frustrated? Yes. Yes, they should. Should fans panic? Not at all. You see, this type of gameplay, it does take time and it does take discipline. And the aspect of the game that we spoke about today, this team cohesion, that is the last thing that needs to fall in place as a team starts adopting a new style of play. And when we see that, we'll see some fantastic football that we know these players are capable of playing. And that is coming, and it is starting to settle. So at the moment, I think the wisest thing that we as football fans and Liverpool fans can ask ourselves is to be patient with this Liverpool team. They'll be able to get there. They'll get this over the line. I'd like to say, trust me, but for now, what I'll ask of you is hit a like on this, hit that subscribe button, and let's have a further conversation down in the chat.